has elapsed. My Lord, we now come to the second oral question. Viscount Hanworth.
I wish to ask the question in my name on the order paper, and in doing so, I must draw attention to my association with the University of Leicester, which is currently enacting a spate of compulsory redundancies amongst its academic staff.
My Lords, higher education providers are independent institutions responsible for their own staffing issues, including how they structure themselves to deliver research and teaching priorities. Where it's necessary to reshape their activities, it's important that universities carefully consider the impact of job losses on staff and students and on the overall sustainability of teaching and research in this country. The Office for Students requires English higher education providers to maintain academic quality and standards.
The Government has led universities to compete for students by embarking on capital expenditures to create attractive amenities. And to address the resulting financial difficulties, they've begun to sack their academic staff at a time when large numbers of European nationals are leaving academic posts in consequence of Brexit. The long periods of training, the job insecurities and the penurious salaries are preventing native British from joining the academic profession. This will lead to the demise of our university sector. What remedies, if any, does the Government propose?
Well, my Lords, we're all proud of our world-leading higher education sector, which is a tribute to those who work in it and have done over many years. We have 4 of the world's top 10 universities and 17 of the top 100. Many universities are able to combine academic excellence with commercial success. So I don't quite recognise the dichotomy the Noble Viscount paints, but we do recognise the challenges of the past year and a half during the pandemic. That is why, alongside access to the business support schemes available to all businesses, we brought forward more than £2 billion worth of tuition fee payments, provided £280 million of grant funding for research and established a loan scheme to cover up to 80% of a university's income losses from international students for the current academic year.
Lord Hannon of Kingsclere.
My Lords, I draw attention to my declaration of interest, particularly as a teacher at Buckingham University. My Lords, the proximate cause of these redundancies is a fall in income. Universities depend not just on fees, but on rent, on income from retail and bars and so on. Will my noble friend the Minister join me in congratulating those universities that have facilitated a safe return to in-person tuition? And will he also join me in urging particularly those in the College Lecturers' Union who are resisting a return to campus to drop their opposition in their own interest, if not in the interest of the students?
Well, my noble friend is right. It's important for universities to meet in person, and staff and students have shown themselves very flexible and adaptable during the challenging circumstances of the last year and a half. All students have been eligible to return to in-person teaching since the 17th of May, and we've encouraged universities to bring that about. It's up to universities themselves how best to manage the return of face-to-face teaching, but all students are now eligible to receive their vaccination, and we encourage them to take that up to support their return to campuses, particularly as the autumn term approaches.
Lords, I draw attention to the scale of this problem. My noble friend mentioned Leicester University, where I understand that 26 academic redundancies are planned, and the cessation of research in pure mathematics. I understand 47 are to be made redundant at the Faculty of Health and Life Sciences at the University of Liverpool, 24 and the ending of courses in international business, modern languages, history and politics and English literature at Aston University, and 11 and the closure of modern languages department at the University of Hull. Surely the noble Lord the Minister ought to do more to intervene to end this unfolding cost-cutting catastrophe which is damaging the morale and careers of students and staff, undermining research and destroying the enviable reputation of our universities.
Well, my lords, higher education providers are independent institutions responsible for their own decisions on staffing. Where it's necessary to reshape their activities, it's important that they carefully consider the impact of job losses on staff and students and on the overall sustainability of teaching and research. The Office for Students requires English HE providers to maintain academic quality and standards, and we have, as I outlined in response to the Noble Viscount, intervened by providing support to institutions during the past year and a half in light of the COVID pandemic.
Ms Garton, Frognall.
My Lords, redundancies may well be targeted at minority disciplines, yet these are very often highly critical to research, national security, well-being and knowledge. Can the Minister assure us that we shall not be losing pure maths, as the Noble Lord has just identified, modern languages, especially minority ones, obscure arts and sciences, which may turn out to be vitally important? What assurances have universities given that they will not make redundancies in minority disciplines unless they are available at other universities?
Well, I can only repeat that the decisions are for universities themselves as autonomous and independent institutions, but we have provided support, as well as that which I outlined earlier, funding through the Sustaining University Research Expertise Fund, and the government is committed to spending 2.4% of GDP on R&D by 2027. So we do recognise the importance of the broad range of subjects that the Noble Baroness outlines.
Sherlock.
My Lords, is the Minister worried that Leicester University is closing down its research in pure maths, if only because STEM can hardly flourish without fundamental maths? But is there a risk, more broadly, that the combined effect of the pandemic and government cuts to research funding since Brexit might lead more universities to slash good research and pivot instead to taught courses they think will bring in more money?
Well, as I've just mentioned, the government is seeking to increase R&D funding to 2.4% of GDP by 2027. And the decisions for the University of Leicester are for the University of Leicester. We've provided the help that I've outlined in the light of the pandemic to the University of Leicester and institutions across the country.
We have a more strategic problem here. We have a university's business model which depends and is very sensitive to overseas students, foreign research funding, not least from China, and the management of the rent rolls for accommodation of students staying away, studying away from home. Post-COVID and post-Brexit, all of that seems to be in question. Isn't it time that we had a strategic review of what our universities are capable of doing and what they are there to achieve?
Well, my Lords, we are very proud of the attractiveness of UK higher education institutions to international students. We have an international student strategy which seeks to build on the successes of the past, informed by Sir Steve Smith, the former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Exeter. And the financial stability of our world-leading university base has been a key aspect considered in all recent spending reviews. Foreign tuition and research income from outside the EU account for 15% and 1% of total income of higher education institutions overall. While China may be an important contributor to foreign non-EU income, it would be wrong to characterise the sector as being highly dependent on that country alone.
Manor Castle.
My Lords, I'm sorry to add to the litany of academic loss, but I'm sure the Noble Lord the Minister is aware of the plans to end undergraduate teaching of archaeology at the University of Sheffield. This was ranked 39th in the world in the 2021 QS rankings. It has received expressions of support from around the world just today from Greece. Would the Minister agree that the study of archaeology is crucial to our understanding of the present, and it is also crucial for us to maintain academic centres of excellence? So will the government reconsider its plans to slash funding for the study of archaeology?
I know the noble lady's noble friend, the Baroness Jones, is an archaeology graduate. As a history graduate myself, I certainly recognise the importance of the study of the past. The government has been providing help to institutions through the ways I've outlined a number of times now, and through the Shaw Fund as well to research. So we are assisting universities, particularly in the light of the challenging circumstances of the past few months.
Stevenson of Balmacara.
My Lords, we have a dual funding system, and while the Minister is right to say that the institutions are notionally independent, the truth is they can only do what they're funded for in what is effectively become a market economy. Has the government considered one part of the dual funding system, the payments that will need to be made to support the redundancies and closures in relation to research? And has he talked to the UKRI about that? And in respect of the AHRC, can the Lord Minister confirm that the funding for the important Creative Clusters programme is secure?
Well, during the last year, we provided support through the Shaw Fund to address the impact of the COVID pandemic. It will continue to be an important consideration in the next spending review and in our plans to significantly to boost R&D funding. Through the Office for Students, we continue to monitor the financial stability of research in higher education, which is an important factor in the consideration of the balance of the dual funding which the Noble Lord refers to.
My Lord, the time allowed for this question has